Alright guys, here's the video for 2.4. Now they're going to give us the function rule and we're going to graph it. Before, they gave us the previous two videos, if you watch it, they gave us tables and we had to come up with a pattern and create a function rule. Now it's the opposite. They give us the function rule and we are going to create the table and then graph it. Okay? So I gave you notes in class, what you're supposed to do, and I'm going to follow exactly the same notes here on my example on how to solve this. So it says, make a table. Right there is exactly what I said in class. Make a table of values for each of the function, and then graph each of the function rule. That's exactly what I said. So let's go ahead and create a table of values right here on the side. You put in you get to pick the x values, and the y values is going to come out. The y values is going to come out right from the function, okay? I don't like how much room we have here. I'm going to move it to a bigger piece of paper. So y equals negative x plus a 3. I'm going to make a table, okay? I like lots of room. In mathematics, you need lots of rooms to make your calculations. You get to pick the x values, but then you have no choice. You have to plug it in here. Negative times the x plus a 3. So you can get your y values, okay? You're going to get your y values right off of this little calculation right here. So I recommend you pick a couple of negatives. I'm going to pick negative 2, negative 1, 0, 1, and 2. The reason why we pick negatives and positives is because we want to see the graph on both sides. We want to see some positive values and some negative values. We want to see what happens on both sides of the graph. Now we just plug it in here and we calculate. So we have this negative, and then inside is our x value plus the 3. We have this negative, we have the x value plus the 3. And I'm going to do that for every single one of them. A negative times the x value plus a 3, a negative times the x value plus a 3, a negative times the x value plus a 3. I'm going to do that for every single one of them. So the x value in this case is a negative 2, in this case is a negative 1, in this case is a 0, in this case is a 1, and here's a 2. Now let's calculate it carefully. Negative times a negative 2 is positive 2. And then you add a 3, you get a 5. Let's do it again. A negative times a negative 2 is a positive 2, and positive 2 plus 3 is a positive 5. A negative times a negative 1 is a positive 1. And then when you add a 3, you get a 4. A negative times a 0 is 0. But then when you add a 3, 0 plus 3 is 3. A negative times a positive 1 becomes negative 1. Plus a 3 gives me a 2. A negative times a 2, it's negative 2, plus a 3 gives me a 1. Okay? So now I have my nice little order pairs here. My x comma y that I want and need so I can graph it. I plugged in a 2, I got out a 5, my x comma y. I plugged in a negative 1, but I got out a 4. You plugged in a 0, but we got out a 3. We plugged in a 1, and we got out a 2. And then we plugged in a 2, but we got out a 1. So here's the order pairs so we can graph it. There was not enough room for me to work on here. And this little grid is way too small for my eyes. I'm too old. So here we go. You do the best you can. There's no way I can see this, not even with my contacts. So you will be able to graph it right here. I'm going to make it a bigger graph. So at negative 2, negative 1, negative 2, go up to 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There we go. At negative 1, we go up to 4 right here. At 0, we go up to 3 right here. At 1 for x, we go up to a 2 right here. And at 2, we go up to a 1 right here. And then you'll be able to connect all your dots. Mine were a little bit off because I don't have a beautiful grid. I can't not see the grid. But there you go. Okay? The best of my ability, you have your graph right there. So, the name of the game here, the way to play this game is make a table. Calculate it carefully, get your y values, and then make your little order pairs, what you put in and what you got out, your input and your output. And then you create your order pairs, and you go ahead and you create your graph. Okay? So let's do one more just to make sure we know how we're doing this. Let's do one with a fraction, because a lot of the students are so scared of fractions. So I'm going to use this paper right here, because I'm running out of paper. I'm going to use this paper right here. Okay. So I am going to do the y equals 1/4 times x. So we make a table of x and y values. X, I'm going to put my rule right here. 1/4 times the x value is going to equal my y value. And then when I'm done with my y value, I'm going to make my order pair x comma y's. Okay? That's how I like to create my table. I like to keep my thoughts very organized, very carefully, so I don't make any mistakes. Remember what I said in class. You get to pick the x values. I'm not going to force you any x values on you. I want to pick something that is easy to multiply by 1/4. Numbers that are easy to multiply by 1/4. And let me pick at least 4, okay? Let's think of numbers that are easy to multiply by 1/4. Let's think of a negative value. How about -4? It's so easy to multiply it. How about a 0? That's another easy one. How about a 4? 4 is an easy one. And how about an 8? So see, I get to pick things that makes my calculations easier. So 0 here, 4 here, and an 8 here. So let's do the calculations. -4 times a 1 is -4. But then you have to divide it by a 4. So -4 divided by a 4 is a -1. Okay, 1/4 times 0. 0 times 1 is 0. Divided by 4 is 0. And then 1 times 4 is 4. And then divided by 4, you get a +1. The last one is 1 times 8 is 8. And then you divide it by 4 and you get a 2. So there you go. You have -4. I plugged in a -4, I got out a -1. I plugged in a 0, I also got out a 0. We plugged in a 4 and we got a 1. And we plugged in an 8 and we got out a 2. So there we go. We have our order pairs. We have enough, so we can go ahead and create our graph. Should be enough to see that it is linear. Okay? All right, so let's see here. -4. 1, 2, 3. Here's -4. But we're going to go drop down to a -1 here. So there we go. -4, -1 matches up right here. 0, 0 is right here. And then up, x equals 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. But we only go up to a 1 on the y value. Right there. And 8, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We would go up to a 2. So you would see that it is following the pattern of a line. So if I have my nice little paper right here, I would connect the 4 dots. We would get a line like this. Of course, I don't have a grid. My lines will never be perfect here. But there you go, okay? And there is our -4, -1, 0, 0, 4, 1, and 8, 2, okay? If that was a 2 and that was an 8, okay? So it's just creating a little table and connecting your dots. We want to generate our order pairs. And the only way to come up with these order pairs is by choosing x values, plugging in the rule, calculating it carefully so the y value comes out. Okay? And that is how you are going to be able to do all of these homework problems here carefully. Again, you're going to create an x and y table right here. You get to pick the x's, multiply 5 times that x value minus a 2, and you're going to get your y values. Okay? This one is easy. You can pick any value of x you want. Sometimes you have to strategically pick something that makes fractions multiplication easier. Okay? Now pay attention to the word problems here. In the cost of D, the cost D in dollars, so we're talking about dollars, of a parking pass depends on the number of whole weeks. So 1 week it was going to cost one value, second week is going to cost another value. The situation is represented by the function. They gave us the function. So I'm going to figure out, what do I get for each week? What do I have to pay for each week? So you will create your little table right here. you're going to get to pick the number of weeks, but then you don't get to control the cost, okay? It's going to the cost is going to depend on how many weeks you're going to be purchasing your parking pass. So you can pick as many numbers as you want. It does not make sense to pick negative values here because there's no such a thing as -2 weeks. So I would pick 0 weeks, 1 week, 2 weeks, and 3 weeks just to see what would happen, and then you can graph that function. Okay, so I'm just giving you a head start on this question. It says the price P in dollars for apples depends on the weight. So the price is going to depend on the weight. Okay, so P is going to depend on 1.99 times the weight of apples. So they gave us the rule, and you're probably going to need to use calculator here. Okay, use the calculator here so you can come up and you can calculate the number of pounds. Pick easy numbers, okay? 0 pounds, 1 pound, 2 pounds of apple, 3 pounds of apple, 4 pounds of apples, and you'll be able to graph this over here. All right, use your calculator, come up with those values, and then you can go ahead and create your graph. All right, so that is pretty much 2.4. Always create your little table, calculate using the rule, and then you can come up with your values. We did talk about absolute value functions in class, and we talked about squaring before you multiplying in class, okay? You're still going to create a table here. You get to pick the x values. You plug in into this -3 times the x value squared, and you're going to get your y values, all right? So you can get, here you literally get to pick anything you want. You can get a -2, you can skip straight to a 0, to a 1, to a 2, and you get your y values, all right? So remember, take the exponent before you do the multiplication. -3 times -2 squared. You got to square it first before you multiply by -3. It's just a simple order of operations. PEMDAS. You got to do the exponent first before you get to multiply, okay? So just be careful with that. I'm not going to do all this homework for you. I'm just giving you hints of every single one of them. So you'll be able to create your table and calculate and finish those, all right? So good luck with this homework. We will be reviewing this again in class to make sure you know how to create a table. All right? So good luck with your homework. Come and see me if you need help. Bye.